Hello, everyone. My name is Marie Burns from Mind, Money, Motion. And you may be aware that throughout this year, I've been taking one chapter of my book each month to kind of overview the contents. My book is the itty bitty before financial checklist. What do we need to get in order before a loss, whether it's our life or a loved one's life? And so this month, the chapter is really about decluttering our finances. And the theme is an acronym. Maybe you have heard of this acronym. It's K.I.S.S, K-I-S-S, which stands for Keep It Super Simple. Or is it Keep It Simple, Stupid? Regardless, simplifying, decluttering, downsizing, uncomplicating, if that's a word, are all referring to great advice, in my opinion, to clarify the situation and make life less complicated, less overwhelming, and then often easier on you. And that goes for whatever subject we're thinking about: simplifying paperwork, your household, a recipe file, a large project, or your finances. Marie Kondo's KonMari method, for example, you may have heard of, has really taken off in popularity as a method to declutter rooms, closets, kitchen areas. There's just something rewarding about tidying up, isn't there? And that rewarding aspect rings true when it comes to your finances for you now, as well as down the road when someone else has to deal with them. So just like anything, where do we start? I'm a big proponent of starting with a list. And in this case, that means an asset list, a net worth statement, a personal financial statement, whatever you want to call it. It's a list of what you own and what you owe, so you can clearly see what you have in place. Think of it like a financial inventory. In fact, I think it's so important that I created a downloadable net worth summary for people to use, and I offer it free in my monthly free workshop. So you can check out my links on that. But just the process of compiling a list of accounts, what property you might have, policies, can be eye-opening. I always think of bank accounts as an example of that. You may find that you have more accounts than you realize when you list them all in one place. What typically happens is maybe you opened an account at a credit union when they were running a special. Maybe you started a Christmas account when those were in vogue. Maybe you moved a couple of times along life's journey and you still have some old accounts that were necessary at the time for local or employment purposes. So maybe you have several small balance accounts that now could be closed or consolidated. So consolidating accounts, whether they're at the bank or old employer plans or old IRAs that you might have started at various institutions, is a best practice that we just often don't hassle with. And yet, when it comes time to withdraw money for income to cover expenses, or maybe income in retirement, or we get to a certain age and we have to take those required minimum distributions from our retirement accounts, that's when having a zillion accounts can be a nightmare. And if you are in a blended family relationship, that multiplies the mess by double. There's some things to think about when consolidating your accounts. You need to pay special attention to the type of account and be sure that you are transferring what they call a like account to a like account. So IRA to IRA, there's some exceptions to that. Taxable account to taxable account, for example. In-kind transfers, moving shares versus liquidating holdings in a taxable account can prevent a tax impact. Rollovers versus transfers of various retirement accounts have different rules. And it's all a paperwork process, and paperwork needs to be monitored. Just because you send it in doesn't mean it's going to be received and or processed and or timely. So the bottom line is that working with someone experienced with this consolidation process is really imperative. You know, one other common issue that I still see surprisingly quite often is when people have paper stock certificates. If you or heirs ever want to sell those stocks, they must be in an account in order to be sold. So you can physically send them into what they call a transfer agent, like computer share, where they then hold them in what they call book entry form. It's just an electronic record of your shares instead of paper copies. Or you could mail them into a brokerage account that maybe you already have or that you open at a custodian like E-Trade or Schwab, or there's dozens of them. You'll always want to call first for special shipping instructions for both of those situations. Either way, then once they're in the account, they're able to be sold whenever you desire. And taking care of that well in advance of ever wanting to sell the shares is really a wise idea. So aside from organizing your financial files so everything is labeled and findable and reflects all of your assets and liabilities, whether that's electronic or in paper file form, this consolidating is the main K.I.S.S, KISS, keep it super simple step to decluttering your finances. I think it's motivating and very helpful to think of each account that you have, each contract, each policy, as a full set of paperwork that someone someday is going to need to submit in order to access the dollars for you or them or disperse the holdings. So if it were you, would you rather deal with 3 IRAs, 4 taxable accounts, 2 old employer plans, and 6 bank accounts at 3 banks, or 1 IRA, 1 taxable account, and 3 accounts at 1 bank? I'm guessing your answer is likely the same, whether it's you or your heirs that are dealing with these things. So my message today is KISS, keep it super simple, is a short acronym, but also a powerful chapter title in my checklist book, because it can mean the difference between a headache and much smoother sailing.